Okay, good evening, everybody that's here at the moment. I would expect there'll be more people come in, but we'll get underway. We've got a relatively tight program. There's a number of people who speak tonight and there's a number of questions to be answered. And so it's sort of time limited. What we have done is we've got 9 of the candidates. We've got apologies from Boyd, Leigh Bowden and Gil Kelly. That's pretty cool that I have to walk out there and read those. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the councillors or the candidates to give us a little overview of what they think is important in their candidacy. And we're going to give them about 2 to 3 minutes to do that. We're going to give them a maximum of 3 minutes. They'll hear a bell at 2 minutes 30, things like that. And we'll let them know they've got 30 seconds to go on that introduction. And at 3 minutes they get that, and it's all over and over. We asked for some questions, or for people to send in questions if we could, because we knew it was just going to be so time limited that we weren't going to be able to take questions from the floor. And we've got a number of questions. A lot of them centred around same topics, and we've put copies of those questions around the room variously. You'll find them on the walls, on the tables, and on some of the chairs. What we've done is we've broken them.
No, you haven't. It'll come back on again in a minute.
Oh, will it?
Happens
Okay.
all the time.
Okay, what we've done is we've grouped them into 5 different categories. So there's housing, employment, amalgamation, and other, a rail trail and other questions. Those questions and the background information that you've got in front of you there have been provided to candidates, and they are structuring their answers. Given there are a number of questions in each of those categories, they have structured their answers around a heading, and hopefully will address the points that have been raised in there along with the background information. As I said, we've got 3 apologies. Leigh has actually sent in her opening remarks, and I've got a copy of that. When it comes to the point where she would have been doing that presentation, I'll read those remarks for you. The way that we've organised this is, this end of the table has current councillors or current councillors sitting on it, and they're arranged alphabetically by Christian names, so there's no bias. It's just the way that your parents named you. The little numbers in front of the cards are the numbers that appear on the ballot paper. My understanding is that to have a valid vote, you have to nominate, or you have to mark at least 5 names. There's 1 to 5 before.
Number 1 to 5. Number 1 to 5.
You have to number 1 to 5 minimum to get a valid vote. You can put all 9, or you can put all 12. There's 9 to be elected. You can do 12 if you want, but 1 to 5 to get a valid vote. At the other end of the table are new candidates, and again arranged alphabetically. We're going to start with the introductions from here and go down the table. When we start asking the questions, just to toss it around a little bit, we'll ask the sitting councillors to speak first, just given that they may have information that the candidates mightn't have about some of these issues, and they'll be able to explain some of those things which may affect the candidate's answer maybe. So when we start with that, we'll start backwards. So Penny will be the first of the sitting councillors. Trevor, thank you, Trevor. Trevor will be the first of the other one. I don't think there's anything more I need to... Oh, this has been promoted by the Gundagai Neighbourhood Centre. They're the ones that have organised this, and they will be recording this tonight, and information will be put up on their social media page or website. I'm not sure which, but that will appear there if anybody asks you what happened and you want to give them some reference, that they can go to that. Okay, so I guess without any further ado, we'll ask Ab to start off with his introduction.
Thanks, mate. If you want me to stand up. Firstly, for those who don't know me, I'm Ab McAllister. I've lived here in Gundagai all my life. I was elected to council in 2004, the Gundagai Council. I served on that council to 12th of May 2016, when I was sacked as a councillor by the state government, the Liberal state government, when they merged Gundagai and Cootamundra together. I was then put on the IAG committee, which was the main committee of the new Cootamundra Gundagai Regional Council. But then myself and Councillor Graham took court action on behalf of the community of Gundagai regarding the amalgamation. So we were then sacked off the IAG until that by the regional administrator, and then we were reinstated once the court case was finished. And then once again after that, I was sacked off it again because I was a member of the Gundagai Council in exile. Councillor Graham was also a member, but he decided just to be a observer of that committee, so he stayed on the IGA. Once the elections came in September 17 for council, for Cootamundra Gundagai Regional Council, I then stood again and was elected to council. And I'd really like to thank all those councillors on that council, and especially a couple that aren't here tonight, in Dennis Palmer and Doug Phillips, who aren't seeking re-election. But this council had a lot of hard decisions to make because of the what I call the ill-fated merger. And we took those decisions and made those decisions. We took it on the chin, not like some of our neighbouring merged councils have left the big hard decisions to their neighbours. Look, the reason I'm standing, I probably feel I still have something to offer. I love the region. I particularly love our town Gundagai, but as a council, when we see GRC, we've got to all work as one, like our last council has. And I mean that we work well. Don't worry, we had our quarrels and we had our little bitches, but we did work well at the end of the day. And once we made a decision, we worked with that decision, whether you were for or against it. So look, you know, I think we've done a big job to, we look like being insolvent, and that was told to the community 6 months into our term. We could see that we were going to have a lot of financial troubles because of the amalgamation, and we got on. Unfortunately, we had to raise a massive rate hike and fees and charges hikes, which is, I feel, a disgrace to have to put on our ratepayers, but we had to do that to stay solvent and not go back into administration. So I think we need to maintain our financial sustainability going forward. We need to have retention, make sure we have full retention of services and staff, got to attract development, and thank you very much. I've got the cowbell.
Thank you for providing this forum for us to come and present ourselves. My name's Charlie Sheehan. I'm a resident of Cootamundra. I have a long time history, both towns, Cootamundra and Gundagai family history. My slogan for this campaign for the council is working for a stronger region. My passion for the region goes back quite a few years. Back in 2015, after frustration with politics and the neglect that I'd seen that's come to our regional areas, I threw my hat in the ring for the state campaign in 2015 as a Labor candidate. It was an unwinnable seat, but I thought at least I'll give the people a choice, and I was deadly serious about it. I wanted to hold the government accountable for the neglect that we had felt for many, many years out here with health services fading, disappearing, and the only way you can get a government to actually do anything is threaten their seat. As a consequence, Katrina resigned a couple of years later. There was a by-election. I stood again, and that was on the back of the forced mergers, which was another act of the government making decisions for us instead of allowing us to determine our destiny. Some of the notes I've got here: if elected, I will continue to work hard and ensure we have a strong council able to deliver. That's a fairly broad statement, but it does encompass the financial status that for an organisation like council to actually deliver services well and efficiently, we have to be financially viable. So that is one of the main focuses at the moment. I'll continue to support development, promoting employment and business opportunities to strengthen our region. I have done that in the past 4 years, and I will continue to, because it's important in our communities that the potential to grow is enabled through council planning. And it's the planning for the future that provides the potential for that growth. I'll continue to seek and promote tourist opportunities. Tourism brings huge bucks to regional areas, and that's something that we have to take advantage of at every opportunity. I'll continue to support our staff. Our staff is one of the main assets that a council has, and our staff, I must admit, over the years have been tested and tried. What we've got there is fantastic. The conditions are not the greatest with the division between the two communities, but we'll have to try and unite that better into the future going ahead. That's it. Thank you.
Well, you beat me.
My name is David Drone. Thank you very much for organising this, and Bob for chairing it. I was elected in 2003 to the Gundagai Shire Council, the same time as our mayor. 2013 we started the battle in relation to mergers and potential mergers, and all we can see is disasters, and time has proven financially that it is a massive disaster. This council has worked well under trying circumstances. When we came out of administration, control had been lost to the ratepayers. The council had to haul back into control. There was things that had to happen to get us back into financial sustainability, and the special rate rise of 53.3 doesn't sit well with me, particularly when you look at all the adjoining shires that join us that are not merged and have not had any rate rise at all. So it really sends a clear message, not only to us as councillors to get it right, but also to the state government on what a shocking decision the 12th of May 2016 was. Why do I want to stand again? Well, I believe that we've got unfinished business. I feel as though I've got something to contribute. We have started with a special rate rise. We need to settle things down and move forward very stably, and we also need to get a far bigger share of the state and federal government money, particularly for things like roads that affect everyone, tourism, and those things will come, but we must have a safe environment for people to move about in, and we have done a lot of good things. The main street is one. It's an exceptional result. It's talked about for 30 years. We finally got it done and it's nearly finished. Shows what you can do if you put your heads together and work things through and also borrow a bit of money. And in this current term, we've got the water going. Well, Cootamundra had all these breaks happening in the Cooter water. They're now basically down to minimal breaks. We've had over $100,000 saving in the water fund in wages through not having overtime and going fixing breaks. We borrowed $4 million to extend and make the dollar go further. The government money that came, we went and borrowed another $4 to make that work. And we've done the same with the sewage down here, and it just shows if you work and use things like your borrowing capacity, particularly in this low interest rate environment, you can really make a difference for the community. Thank you.
Pretend I'm Leigh Bowden. Please accept my apologies for not being there with you this evening. As you meet, I'm chairing a Board of Directors meeting for the Cooter District Co-op Limited in preparation for a special members meeting to be held on Monday the 6th of December. The future of the co-op is the agenda item for that meeting. The members will decide the way forward. About me, Leigh. My husband Richard White and I moved to Cootamundra in March 2012. We knew no one and had only looked at one house which we found on the net. It was a tree change and we could just as easily have moved to Gundagai. As such, I was the only councillor not born and bred in Cootamundra or Gundagai on the inaugural Cootamundra Gundagai Regional Council. My commitment has always been to listening to the community, particularly those who have had the difficulty being heard, for example, First Nations people and the Rainbow community. I'm an advocate of thorough consultation and negotiation. My slogan in this campaign is working for our future. My priorities are financial sustainability, robust economic development, housing availability, and addressing the challenges of climate change. I have a BA DipEd and postgraduate qualifications in women's and Indigenous studies. I'm a professional and have worked as an educator in the school, TAFE, university and community sectors. I've been the CEO of a small not-for-profit organisation and have owned and managed 2 successful small businesses. Leigh's also got answers to the questions which I'll read out later.
Good evening everyone, my name is Penny Nicholson. I'm a 49-year-old grey-haired woman who didn't have as many grey hairs when I started my first term, but firstly let me start with thanking Bob for being the chairperson this evening, and also thank you to the Neighbourhood Centre representatives for organising this opportunity for us to present tonight. Let me first start with, I'm putting my hand up for my second term. My first term has been enormously enjoyable, however, also very challenging. I feel, like David said, that he has something to give back as well, but I would like to give back to the community that has been very good to myself and my family for many years. As most of you would know, my husband and I had the news agency for 18 years and we sold it 12 months ago. So we now are both locally employed and we're looking forward to having more time on our hands. As I said, the term was difficult, but let me say, and I'm sure that I speak on behalf of the current councillors, that we're very proud. We're very proud of our achievements. It's been very difficult, but we've had some good times and we've also ticked a few boxes. My platform was that I'm the voice for the community, and as Leigh also mentioned, sometimes people don't have the ability nor the confidence to make representation to council, and I would hope that that's where I fill that void. I would consider that I'm the people's advocate. I am approachable and honest and act with integrity. I would always do the best for our communities to advance and better them. Everybody is aware of our current financial situation, and the special rate variation was an extremely difficult decision for standing council, current councillors, as was the fees and charges harmonisation. So these difficult decisions were not lost on councillors. Remember that we pay rates as well. All future decisions of this council must be financially responsible, full stop. The financial impost on our community has been substantial, and the ratepayers are the ones that paid. We were honest, and we took our residents along with us for the ride. They were fully informed, and we didn't have our heads in the sand. If elected, I look forward to representing our local government area, our towns and our villages, advancing and enhancing service levels, encouraging business, tourist and lifestyle development. Good luck to all future candidates.
G'day there, David Ferguson my name is. My family's been here my whole lifetime. I've only recently returned in the last decade to come back to Gundagai to set up a life for my family out at Como Estate. We moved back here 9 years ago to return to where I'd sort of grown up and where I'd really enjoyed my early childhood life. We sort of set about trying to fix the farm up when we got back, which was sort of post-drought and looking, you know, a bit tired after Dad had sort of lost a bit of inspiration in keeping on going over that time. So we came back and started to inject a bit of new life into the place. we started to put on some weddings in an old shed that we had there, and then from that point we added some accommodation options, including the now pretty famous eco huts that sit on our hilltops out of Kaimo. I've got a young family. I've got a 12-year-old boy who has got sort of special needs with his education and health. And I've got another young fella here who's in at the primary school in grade 2 next year. I'm standing for council because I'm pretty keen to inject a few new ideas and a bit of new blood into council. I think I've got a bit to offer in regards to sort of what we've done in business, what we've done in agriculture. Where we live in one of the villages, so I think I've got a few handles on some ideas that would help the villages grow and become more prosperous, which I think would in turn increase the offering that we have for tourism in the area, which I think is probably one of the most underutilised assets in the area. Even 6 or 7 years ago, I was saying to people that Gundagai is the new barrel, so I'm hoping that we might be able to push on and get a few more offerings and try and get a bit of that Sydney money to come down on the weekends and in their holidays and dump a heap of their cash that they earn up there down here. I'm very much looking to push housing problems by rezoning of land and looking at some unique sort of opportunities that we've got, which would also, I believe, help us push some tourism, engage some more businesses to come and set up in our area, and try and keep some of the kids staying in the area that are actually currently going elsewhere for opportunities. So that's the basis for my platform.
Hi, my name is Logan Collins. I'm currently standing for the Cootamundra Gundagai Regional Council. Just check, is this on?
No, I won't.
It'll come back on, beautiful. No worries. So currently I am the first youth mayor of Cootamundra. Cootamundra last year established the Cootamundra Youth Council in collaboration with the current sitting CGRC to enhance the youth voice out in the Cootamundra. Now Gundagai has been very lucky to have their own youth council here, and I congratulate the Gundagai Council for assisting in that, and the Neighbourhood Centre for assisting them. The Cootamundra youth have a lot of ideas, however, over time they've gone quiet and they've gone apolitical. A lot of the youth in Cootamundra, and particularly in regional New South Wales, feel like they can't rely on their council because they've just seen the horrors of what can happen when urbanisation happens in our metropolitan areas and doesn't actually come out here into the regions. And we don't get development out here, we don't get industry, we don't get infrastructure. They don't only see it in the cities, they flock to Canberra, they flock to Wagga Wagga, they flock to Sydney, they flock to Brisbane. They always forget how beautiful the country is, and they think that there's not opportunities here. But that's what we as a generation are here to do, and as the councillors we're meant to be providing stability and prosperity for our youth. And that's why I stand here today, and I do congratulate all candidates standing here today to wish to enhance the future that our council brings. And personally, I'd like to bring some fresh blood, some new ideas. I moved to Cootamundra in 2006 with my family. I'm currently very young compared to many of our candidates here tonight and sitting councillors. Many of you can actually be my mum or dad. I am currently 18 years and 2 months, so take that as a as the old grandfather. Yes, that's true. So I look forward to coming over for tea. But no, yeah, I am 18 years and 2 months. It is quite a shock to some people when they hear someone as young as me for standing. But I assure you, I am very keen to stand here for the council. I'm here to represent the regions, represent the youth, and represent the future that we could bring here. Because, everyone brings a different prospect, but it's what people want and what they're going to do about it. It's easy just to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but we need to look at things critically. We need to establish better housing, particularly over in Gundagai and Cootamundra. Cootamundra's about to open up the abattoirs again. That's going to bring 600 jobs. We need more houses out there. The housing crisis is bad. It's just as bad out here in Gundagai. We also need to remember our villages. A lot of our villages are feeling neglected. Stockabingal, Ajundilly, Coolac, Muddamar, Nangus. I mean, I just had someone the other day from Nangus contact me about how they feel that they're not getting enough support from council. So these are the things we must stand for. These are the things we must do as councillors and to steer our council into the future. So thank you for giving me this platform today.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. Thank you to Bob. Thank you to the Neighbourhood Centre. My name's Maxine Hayes, and I live over in South Gundagai. We've been living here for about 3 years now. We moved down from Ingleburn in Sydney, my husband and I, and 2 of our younger children. We have 2 family businesses over there that we run, and I also work in a local law firm here. I've also worked, we have offices in Junee, Tumut, Cootamundra and Gundagai, and I've worked over in Coota for over 1.5 years as well. I'm also involved, when we moved down here, we didn't know anyone, didn't have any friends, didn't have any family contacts or anything. So the best way I thought I would get to know my new hometown was to get involved in everything. So I got involved with CWA, I got in membership with the Truck Museum, I got involved with the Land Crown Managers down at the showground, and the P&A Society as well. So you'll often see me around just giving a hand wherever I can. And that's how I got to know our hometown and got to know the amazing people and also the people over at Coota who are clients and thank you, sorry. In regards to why I would like to do this, I've had a lot of experience over the years. I've owned my own business since '99. I've had quite a few career changes. I've got a lot of qualifications behind me. And because I love this region, what it offers, what it gives to the families, I'd like to share that, be available and be able to give that to support to the community and the region. I've also been labelled over the weekend a bit of a workaholic, so I thought, well, that kind of helps with what we're going to be doing and what could potentially be if I get onto council. So thank you.
Always helps to get it up the right way and throw the glasses on the floor. Yeah. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for asking me here to speak this evening. It's always a pleasure to visit Gundagai, no matter the occasion. This is a very supportive and well-connected community. The last time I spoke here was during the commencement of the amalgamation. The collateral damage from the amalgamation and the deeply flawed original administrator has been long-lasting and far-reaching. According to Dr. Joseph Drew, catastrophic failures of the council finances will occur unless urgent action is taken. This was articulated on November the 9th at the demerged New South Wales Alliance meeting held in Sydney this year. We don't have to look too far at the standalone councils to see how successful they are, as David has pointed out. If elected, I would do my utmost to ensure that there is transparency in the budget repair process and that the financial state of the budget is viable. This would allow for a realistic standard of service to be delivered to all ratepayers and help guard against future rate rises. It would also be critical to me that the corporate section of the council be managed as efficiently and as economically as possible. I acknowledge that there are challenging times for the staff and councillors, but this is a responsibility we owe to every resident of the Shire. Thank you.
used to not speaking with the microphone. People are going to be happy with the tone of my voice and the loudness of my voice. And secondly, I'm quite happy to speak from here than over there. So if that's okay with everyone, that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you for giving up your time to come here tonight. And thank you to the people at the top there who have organised tonight's event. Who am I? My name is Trevor Glover. In 1986, I moved to Jugiong to become the principal of Jugiong Primary School. In 1992, I moved schools to Cootamundra, to EA Southey School in Cootamundra. From there, I went to Willowbow for a couple of years to be principal, and then moved back into Cootamundra. I finished my career in 2013 at EA Southey in Cootamundra. Since retiring, I've dabbled, moonlighted if you like, as a wool classer. I've done a bit of casual truck driving, and I run a small merino operation. I've been married for 44 years. I have 4 children, and they completed their entire education at Cootamundra until they left to go to university. I've been honoured with 2 life memberships from sporting organisations, one of those based in Cootamundra, and one of those is based in Wagga Wagga. But that one in Wagga Wagga encompasses the whole Riverina district. Both of those are involved with school sporting activities. So what do I bring if I get elected? Well, I can tell you what I don't bring, and I don't bring a silver bullet. Because if there was a silver bullet for our financial woes and for the demerger, I feel confident that Abby and David would have pulled that out of their back pocket by now. So I'm not promising you that I have all the answers, because I don't have all the answers. In fact, being a newbie on council, I most probably don't have too many answers. What I do know is, and a number of speakers have already spoken about this, that we have some wonderful tourist opportunities here, and I believe that we need to invest in those a little bit more. I believe that we need to play to our strengths, and I believe that I'm bringing a set of fresh eyes and ears to council. Fresh eyes that can look for effective communication, good teamwork, which then builds good culture. And all of those things will be beneficial to the workers, to you, the shareholders, and to us as a whole group. That will do.
Okay, that moves us on from the introductions to our 5 major topics that we've got arising out of the questions. Yeah. I'm a bit like Trevor, I don't know that I actually need this, but we'll start with Penny, and the first one is on the rail trail. Penny?
Thanks Bob. So the 2 questions that I will address, the middle question isn't appropriate to me. So for sitting councillors, what was your position on the rail trail study, and how did you come to it? And given the success of Tumbarumba, will you restart the investigation? I supported the rail trail study. Why did I support the rail trail study? Is because I have seen what rail trails do for communities. So now that's a beautiful segue for me to say that the community strategic plan is currently being gathered, and the data will reflect what the community wants. So if there's one message that we should all be trying to spread, is that everybody should partake in the community strategic plan. What does the community want? Now's your opportunity. I would take the opportunity, I would welcome the opportunity to fully investigate the feasibility of the rail trail whilst utilising funding opportunities.
On the rail trail?
rail trail.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, I endorse what Penny said in relation to the rail trail. My position was that I have grave concerns about the cost of it. I believe that there's a lot of other things where we can spend the money a lot more wisely and impact on a lot more people. I have no doubt that yes, tourism does bring dollars to town, but it cannot be at the expense of some of these projects. We're just seeing another one at the moment in Cootamundra. We've got $2 million for Pioneer Park, fantastic for the town and this and that, but you know, you drive around your country roads and they're all falling apart, and at the end of the day, what's, I suppose I'm old school, but I mean, what is council's role? You know, roads, rates and rubbish is really where it comes from. Thank you.
The rail trail, I support the rail trail, and I'll seek every opportunity to take full advantage of it. Not every community has the infrastructure, like we've got this rail trail, the potential of it from Cootamundra to Tumbalong. They're proven nationally, they're proven internationally to bring business, tourism, employment, jobs, all the other questions. If you look at the whole holistic questions here, employment and housing and things like that, something like a rail trail, the scale that we're looking at here, could be the catalyst that starts all those things. Like if we continued down the path, we could have been at construction phase now, which would have been a $20 million injection into this community. And that would have been jobs for fencing contractors, for earthworks, to prepare the rail trail. The maintenance cost was thrown up. The maintenance could be undertaken, if you look at it, as 2 full-time jobs on council. Offset that against contractual work that the council employs, and you could come up with a net even result with your maintenance.
I also meant to thank the neighbourhood centre and the girls and everyone for coming too. It was remiss of me, I forgot. Look, with the rail trails, I'm a supporter of rail trails. I'm a supporter of anything to do with tourism. But in this case, the amount of funding we had was very small. And we started to go out, we weren't going to be able to interview and consult with all the stakeholders. And at the time, we had a lot of unfinished projects from Stronger Country Communities Fund and NCIF funding that we had to finish. We had a lot of shovel-ready projects, such as the mill we wanted to get funding for. And I think that's what upset a lot of the group that are anti-rail trails and stakeholders that own land along the line, that a lot of them weren't going to get consulted. So I've got no problems if council realigns and looks at the rail trail in the next term, but we need to do it properly. We need to make sure we've got enough funding to go out and do the proper consulting and consult the right way with the people. You just can't do half-hearted consultancy with people and stakeholders when it's such a big output. Tumbarong was very successful, they say. We've got to remember this one is a lot further. You know, a lot of the rail trails in Victoria, I think there's 18 or 17 of them being handed back to council for the maintenance. That was about 12 months ago, that was the figures. So there is a lot of maintenance, ongoing maintenance too, that you really got to look at. But anything for tourism and anything for fitness and health, I'm for, but it needs to really be looked at and consulted properly with these stakeholders.
Leigh Bowden's answer to the questions on the rail trail. I'm an avid supporter of the rail trail. I was delighted when consultation was planned and begun with those who would be directly affected by the proposed trail. With proper consultation and negotiation, solutions to perceived problems can be reached. I was devastated when the motion to rescind the investigation and consultation into the Cootamundra to Gundagai Rail Trail was passed. Obviously, I voted against the rescission motion. I've been advised that the best way to have the consultation process reintroduced is that it come as a request from community members, as many people as possible. It is time for the pro-rail trail groups to become organised and to garner support, even from and especially from those who don't ride bikes, and I'm one of them. A rail trail is one way to bring tourism and economic development to our region.
We do. Right, rail trails. Am I opposed to a rail trail? No, I'm not. But I have a couple of caveats for me to get a vote if it comes up. Do I think it's going to come up in the next period of the next council? No, I don't. One of my caveats is it's got to be fully funded by the government. If it's fully funded by the government, the multiplier effect of, let's say, $10 million could be as high as $30 or $40 million injection into here. But it must be government funded. The next issue that I have is for those people who aired grievances about their privacy. I can understand that, and I would argue that the consulting in that regard has to be spot on. I was lucky enough to read a proposal for the Tumut to Batlow Rail Trail. There were 3 authors. One was Phil Barton, and the other 2 I just can't remember. But I was impressed with how they looked at ways to overcome that privacy issue. And I think that there are ways that that can be done. But unless it is totally built by locals, totally funded by the government, and I don't think there's going to be a great deal of money post-COVID running around in governments. So I'm not quite certain, sorry, I feel quite certain that it's going to be a non-event for some time.
So, I'm actually opposed to it. I'm a landowner, and I'd be pretty cross if I thought that this was going to go through my land and no thought was going to be put into it, no consultation. It doesn't seem to me that anybody's thought about how you're going to keep people actually on the rail trail without them wandering around to have a picnic by the river or up here or leave some rubbish or do whatever you want. You'd have to build a fence either side of the rail trail. Who is going to build that? Who's going to pay for it? And furthermore, who's going to maintain it? It's no good saying, oh yeah, well, council would have 2 full-time jobs. You haven't got enough staff to do what you've got in council, and as many people have said up and down here, you've got to concentrate on the projects that you haven't finished. So there seems to be a lot of unfinished projects that are funded, but unless you finish them within the time frame, I dare say you'll lose that money as well. Anyway, thank you.
In regards to the rail trail, I really don't have a decision one way or the other. Once again, new to the area, and what I would prefer to do is look at the report, look at everything, do the research, look at the balance of it. Initially, walking, cycling, horse riding, experiencing history, increased revenue, it all looks good, but then you've got to come back down to, is it going to be right for the area? So my jury's out, I'm still new to it, so I'm ready to listen to what the report says and what all the residents say.
I'll try to do it without the microphone too. Look, frankly, I'm disappointed that the rail trail did not proceed, let alone the investigation or the consultation itself. In fact, I recall earlier this year, Councillor Sheehan approached the Cootamundra Youth Council to provide information and have an open floor discussion with the youth over the prosperity that can come with the rail trail, but also to answer our questions. So, Councillor Sheehan, thank you for that, for providing that open floor discussion and transparency from the council. Should I be elected, I would fully support the consultation, the immediate consultation of the rail trail for our communities. As has been stated by many candidates, there is a lot to discuss over it. It's not as simple as flicking on a light switch and it's all good to go. There's a lot of consultation that's going to go into it, but if it's done right, it can be done perfectly when we actually implement it. The idea of rail trails has proven to be successful in many other council areas, and for us to pass up this opportunity would ultimately be foolish. Those opposite neglect the opportunities our villagers can see, seeing more foot traffic, and the fact that the rail trail provides brand new forms of activities that a lot of our metropolitan counterparts desire and lust for, while we have it right here in the communities, right in our own backyards. So frankly, let my statement be clear, I fully support the rail trail. I'm not going to have anything new here. Everyone's said just about everything that I can say.
At the moment, there's no funding for rail trails from the New South Wales government, as far as I'm aware of. So, once again, look, it's something that I'm quite happy to look into. I think it's a great idea in theory. It's just in practicality how that plays out. I had a lady ring me the other day who said that the proposed rail trail map goes through her front garden, so that can't occur. So there's still obviously plenty to work through on that, and all the funding that I can see around at the moment is based on like-for-like funding. Now, I don't think that this council's got any ability to put in money to a project such as this. So, look, I'm all for looking at it, but once again, it'd have to be something that the money comes from somewhere else. Cheers.
Thank you. The next one of the questions is on housing, and what do we do now? Do we just start and go this way again?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah, okay.
So you've got two questions there. You've got for sitting councillors, and then the next one's for new council. So do you get the 90 seconds on each question?
Well,
No. I just want to know what to say. Right. So we cover all of it.
Yeah, well,
That's all right.
you state your position as a sitting councillor, whereas new or potential councillors might have the knowledge you have.
Where are we, mate? We've got the question. The question actually is basically why hasn't the council planned ahead since the Burke Estate? Well, let me tell you, the Burke Estate was opened 7 years ago, and come December we hadn't even sold 50% of the block. But post-COVID, because of people wanting to get out of the heavily congested lifestyle in the cities, we've now sold all the blocks. But in that time, and in the meantime, council has been negotiating with landholders, and we are presently in negotiation with landholders to purchase land that we can subdivide, and also industrial land. You've got to be pretty careful here you can't go too high up on the hill because you'll run into a lot of trouble with your water. But unfortunately here, with our floodplain and our hill terrain, it makes it harder to find blocks to buy, but we are in negotiation with both residential and industrial. What can we do in the next time? Look, our LEP comes up next year for renewal, and to renew it, I think what we need to, we've got to look at the boundaries. We extend the boundaries of the villages and the towns where we can, once you leave town, now it's RU1, so in Gundagai's LEP's got to be 100 acres. We've got to bring those areas back a lot smaller and closer, and the areas close to town, because from our point of view, that's the only way we'll get more land. There's not much in town unless you can start to do some infill on these bigger blocks that we've got. Luckily, we have got a developer coming along. It's my time up.
Really?
Oh,
It is now.
I didn't know which bell. I'm too many bells. Didn't know.
Only 2 bells, eh?
We have got a developer doing some now, which is great work anyway. But don't worry, we're looking at the problem.
Yeah, the housing crisis is nothing new just to this local government area. It's statewide, it's national. It's a phenomenon that's happened with the city prices escalating. It's a result of bushfires, COVID. There is a tree change movement that's happened very rapidly. You can't buy or rent a house in Cootamundra for love of money, which makes it really hard for housing staff and things that have to come for nursing homes and all these other things. So we have a lot of problems faced around the housing crisis. Cootamundra, we have land. The planning process is in place now to bring entitlement into that land and development to happen, to bring over 150 residential blocks into the market. Gundagai, we were aware that all the blocks had been sold. Finding land suitable to develop in Gundagai is a challenge. So that's going to take a little bit of planning and foresight to see where future development in Gundagai could happen. But it is happening in Cootamundra. We have private developers there already. He did 32 blocks this year. They were all sold straight away. He's doing another 32 blocks. Council, hopefully in the next 12 months, will bring 150 residential blocks into the market. So it's something that we have to look at. We're looking at the planning imposition on infill in the town. That's the cheapest expansion where you can develop medium density housing at low cost because your infrastructure is already in place.
I really haven't much to add on housing. I agree wholeheartedly with what the Mayor said. I also compliment the vision of our councillors years ago in taking on Burke Estate. As Ab said, stage 3 started in 2013, but it started well before that. It actually started back in about 1990, stage 1. And we have got a shortage, and I think the best way, I agree with the Mayor, that we need to address it through our LEP when we get to upgrade it next year with some issues. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I likewise to Councillor Graham agree. There's certainly a current land shortage, and as our Mayor said, that Council is investigating and within negotiations for land development. We have experienced a COVID boom, so that's something that nobody anticipated. People are moving to our area to escape the city, and unfortunately my crystal ball did not predict a pandemic. So the factors for our housing and land shortage is of course COVID, private enterprise, and our geographical nature. What can we do about it? We continue to push the land release negotiations and also LEP modifications, and also investigate the land release options at our villages. Thank you.
Dave, just before you go, I'll provide Lou's response if you don't mind. Housing. I know very little about the Burke Estate. So Paul was the liaison between two former council areas. However, I'm well aware that housing is an issue throughout our region. Some years ago, I moved a resolution that council invest in some executive housing to provide suitable rental accommodation for professionals, particularly doctors, who were moving to the area. It failed. With interest rates at an all-time low, it would be an appropriate time for council to borrow funds to invest in land and develop more estates which can be sold to the increased number of people wanting to move into regional areas. Lifestyle blocks, so 5 acres, are in demand, and it may be time for council to consider some rezoning.
Yeah, this is a pretty big one for me. This is something that I think the move to the city, from the city to country edge, has actually been happening for a bit longer than people around here realise. It was a trend that started pre-COVID. We just weren't that great at going with it, I don't think. So the idea of rezoning stuff, I think Jackalas, I think Nangus, I think Stock and Bingle, I think Reno's got an opportunity for some lifestyle blocks that we can sell into Sydney. And I think if we can do that, we can fix several problems at once. We can fix our population demographic trend, we can fix our number of ratepayers, we can have an increased number of ratepayers, which at the moment we've got a sort of a dwindling number of ratepayers. That should in turn push some new businesses to come in and set up to cater for these extra people that are about, whether they be weekenders from Sydney or Canberra or whether they're permanent residents. I think anyone who wants to come in and drop some money and build a house here and then come down and spend money on weekends or for a new lifestyle is exactly what the place needs.
As I said earlier, I'm 18. A lot of you would probably have grandchildren or children who are actually around my age, maybe 23 or something. You've probably heard them discuss that housing is extremely hard to get into. Now, if you're not living off, great farmland that you can just subdivide every now and then and get some easy money to make your new investment property, there you go, you're all done. Is it incredibly hard to be someone young and get into the property market? I know in Cootamundra, I've got people who want to stay in Cootamundra, but their houses are just going like that. They can't get into the property market, they can't get into renting. It's appalling, frankly. And look, I'm not saying it's the council's fault. There is a housing crisis. I was just talking to the Minister for Housing a couple of weeks ago about this. Look, frankly, what I do want to see is I actually want to see the implementation of more townhouses and apartment blocks going up in our regions. I know sometimes some people may be afraid of that. They think that it can be an eyesore. Frankly, Cootamundra's got an apartment block. It is quite big and it's not that bad. It blends into the town pretty nicely. Anyways, I just think the council can do more, and they're already planning on it, but more subdivisions and more planning for high density housing for our youth to quickly get into something else rather than having to live at home and not be able to buy a house. Thank you.
Housing
issues can only be solved if the general consensus from the people of the town actually want the town to grow and expand with homes. There is an ever-increasing need for investment and diverse homes to be built and tenanted. But there also needs to be a willingness to look at the LEP, which looks like it's going to be done, and understood where the Gundagai and Cooter are going. Just another thing to add a little spin to everything that's been said. Where we came from at the time, a lot of granny flats were being built in the backyards of the houses and that, because the land, they had the big blocks in the old suburbs. So maybe that is something, keep the families together, but just to add to that tenancy. And then also maybe other schemes that can be built in where we keep the seniors at home, we get the younger people paired up with them. So it's a matter of keeping people in the
I think it's quite tough for Gundagai to address this geographically. You know, we've got a floodplain and then we've got the hills. So it is pretty difficult for you. I think the LEP idea that to re-investigate that is probably a very good option. Council, I know council has a sort of duty of care, if you like, to try and solve this problem, but actually it's, you know, housing is really up to the developers, and I must say in Cootamundra he's cleaning it up, that chap. You know, he's developed all sorts of places and done up pubs, and I think that's for the onslaught of all these workers for the arbitrage. There's nowhere for them to live. There's 300 or 400 coming. So maybe we could put a development officer in the council to handle that specifically. You know, if you had someone targeted, so people could go there and talk about all that.
Being at the end of the table, it sort of doesn't leave much to be said, to be honest. However, it sounds as if the blokes that have been on council, and the ladies, and by that I mean blokes and ladies, have a good handle on this. Roz is right, Charlie's right, this is not unique to us. However, you know, if we're going to look at changing, let's look at the demographics. The demographics are that retirees are becoming a major proportion of our population, so maybe the LEP needs to reflect that, and that could include things like duplexes, and I agree with the granny flat type stuff up the backyard, all that sort of stuff, but that will be addressed in the LEP. I think that's just common sense, and I think if council truly want to do that, then I can't see any reason why I would object to that if I get elected. Thank you.
Thank you. The next category has been touched on several times already, employment, and I guess we're going to go the back way again, Penny, starting with you.
Okay. Excellent. I don't need that. The question was, what ideas do you have to bring better career and professional employment opportunities to the Gundagai area? So our world is very connected, so anybody of course can work from home and remotely, so more so than ever enabling anyone to access secure and reliable internet, which is often a little difficult, but if we could secure more land and residential and commercial development, that would be of course a start, but we've touched on the LEP many times, so I think that would be a good start for us.
Employment, this council's worked very hard in making sure that AMG are going to get off the ground, and it's fantastic that February next year looks like they're going to be up and going, and eventually they could end up with up to 700 to 800 permanent employees, which would be fantastic for Cootamundra. Where they're going to house them, I don't know, but anyway, that's it. Then you've got other potential developments happening, solar and wind. If the wind farm flies, potentially it could be up to 300 employees. And I've also got a compliment of this town. Council worked very, very closely with the medical profession early in the piece, and now they've taken it further. We've got a revamped hospital. We've got a very, very good medical centre, and we've got a very, very good QPA that does all of Australia out of this area. So there are some excellent employment opportunities. I'd like to see more come about. Professional people with the advent of internet and all that type of thing, we seem to be seeing those people doing more and more from a distance. Thank you.
Personally, around employment, I think our region isn't too bad. It's very hard to get someone to even mow your lawns at the moment. Employment is pretty full in our region. We've got the abattoirs coming on, which is going to boost that opportunity, but also things like aged care. I'm on the board of the nursing home at Verdina Care at Cootamundra, and we have trouble with staff, holding staff and getting enough staff on duty. We are looking at actually advertising internationally for staff, and where the CEO is looking is Ireland. He said Irish aged care and nurses are well trained, they're paid poorly over there, and Australia's pretty attractive. And on the back of that, with their partners and that, we can offer employment with the abattoirs. And another thing that hasn't been mentioned is the inland rail is due to start turning soil in 2023, and that will bring like 1,000 workers to the region as well. So I think employment will happen naturally, and I think it's not too bad at this stage.
Yeah, I agree with what Penny and David and Charlie have said. You know, we've worked extremely well with AMG to get them to make sure they came to Cooter, and you know, they're going to start off with 350 jobs, up probably 500. Also, we've got to try and bring professional business into our town, but I think we've got a lot of professionals that work in town, such as teachers and police and medical people that actually live out of town. So I think we've got to try and encourage those professionals to work here and live here and promote the lifestyle we've got. And as Penny said, also still promote the lifestyle of come to live here. If you can work from home and Zoom into meetings and whatever, and only need to go 2 or 3 days down to the city in a fortnight or whatever, promote it to them to come here and live and get away from that congested lifestyle in Sydney. But yeah, they've covered most of it. It's about promotion, but I think we still need to look at if we can encourage people that are already working here, professionals working here that live out of town, to live in this community. It'd be a great thing, because that used to happen years ago, but it certainly doesn't happen as much now.
Okay, thank you. My questions are, what happens when the railway finishes and the wind farm finishes? What I'd like to know is, have we got any information from those businesses that walked away from us previously, that put in a bit of a business case and then decided to go to Young or to Chairman or to Wagga or whatever? What was the reason that made them do that? I'd like to see some information on that, because in that information there are some keys to doors that may be open to get, because I've written here employment opportunities and I've put equals business opportunities, and the speakers are right. We need new businesses, we need businesses that employ people. But why have businesses not come here for the last 20 years? That's a question that I'd like to know the answer to. Thank you.
So perhaps council could employ a professional development officer to promote LGA and encourage companies to move here. That could be one way of maybe promoting the area.
My husband and my daughter travel New South Wales for work. Whenever they are asked where they come from, the response is always the same, obviously Gundagai. The response they get is, that's where the dog on the tucker box is. So obviously Gundagai is on the map, and we need to capitalise on this with tourism options, where careers can be made. We also have an immense amount of history and current lifestyle diversity in our community. We obviously need to attempt to bring a source of income and careers to the area via domestic fabrication and small business opportunities to help bolster the workforce. Due to COVID, many companies and government branches have been able to move jobs to an online platform where there is no longer need for in-person office hours. We need to take advantage of this and promote the lifestyle that Gundagai can offer in those in this unique situation.
Well, frankly, as Trevor said earlier, the further you get down the line, the more you'll just hear the wish-wash and the repeatingness, and I feel like David sitting here is like, oh, everyone said everything I'm going to say. And frankly, I actually have to concur, Trevor, because he said exactly what was on my mind. I've heard a lot of people in the community complain about the bureaucratic process that can come through with the CGRC and the Cootamundra Shire when they say they want to open up a business. The Cootamundra Main Street, the Gundagai Main Street are absolutely beautiful, but when you actually get down into Cootamundra Main Street, particularly down the north end, which locals for some reason call the south end, there's a lot of empty shop fronts, and it's really confusing why we have these empty shop fronts. And you know, why these businesses left down. So I applaud Trevor for bringing this up today. We do need to investigate why these businesses have left, but also remember the Latin saying, "Tempio moditana, nos et moditana in illis," which means times change and we change with the times. Internet is taking business away from being in person and taking everything online. It is challenging, but this is a challenge we must face together. But if we had the answer to unemployment, we wouldn't have unemployment. Like if we could halve unemployment in a second, we would all do that. But the council is currently investigating that, and so are the businesses. So it is a difficult question to answer, and unfortunately I can't give you a straight clear answer. I can just tell you that I would support the investigation for why these businesses are leaving and try to promote our local businesses through our commerce chambers even more to promote stability of business in regional New South Wales.
So this is another big one for me. This is somewhere where I think I can put my 2 bob worth in to help. I think headhunting of businesses is something that we're not doing enough of. I think we actually need to go. We've got the roads, we've got the highway, we've got the main rail line, we've got to have a new rail line. I had a mate who set up the canola factory thing over at Bowman. She was part of that deal that actually went to the company and attracted them to Wagga. I think there's certainly a lot of scope to be doing a bit more proactively with those sort of things, mechanical businesses, depots and things on highway. The Junior Licorice Factory type idea where you have something that, you know, you find something that you've got that someone else can use and set up a business in. They're now employing 44 full-time equivalent staff over there, and it's turned their whole town around. Mentoring programs with technical trades that we've already got here to try and keep kids in the area and help them set up small businesses that then go on to employ people. There's a bloke over at Forbes who's making trailers. He's 22 years old. He's making 70 trailers a year at about $35,000 a trailer. So there's things that we can do to try and entice kids to set up in their own businesses and stay here.
Leigh's response on the issue of employment was housing availability will make it easier for professionals, be they medical, educational, financial, legal, etc., to move to the area. There are professional careers now in which people can work almost exclusively from home. In addition to housing availability, the area requires the amenity that will attract the executive sector. That's Leigh's response. The next issue was on amalgamation. What are we up to here? Amalgamation. Yeah, no, I mean, which one are we flowing down?
I don't mind. So we answered the 8, 9, 10. We're also doing the what's your plan to rectify the current financial crisis?
Yeah. That's how you interpret
first one,
it.
were you in support of amalgamation? Well, I don't think I need to tell people. I was never in favour of amalgamation. That started from 2010 when I attended the first meeting at Dubbo, and I'll tell you it was all set up from there all the way through. So I never was. Gundagai Council got Dr. Drew to do work prior to the merger. Everything he said's come true. And as David said before, look at the blends, the Juniors, the Temora, the Lockharts, the West Wylands. Not one of them has had to put their special rate variation up a %. But look at the Hilltops and the Snowies, who haven't even done this yet and put the pressure on the next council. They're all in dire financial straits, the same as we were. Luckily, as I said, our council hit it on the head. We did rate harmonisation, we did the SOB and all the rate rises, fees and charges that we need to do. The community is still, I know the majority of the community, from what I hear, in favour of a demerger. I would still fully support it. Look, in the bush it doesn't work, especially when you've got towns like this, you've got distances of 65 k's. You can't join your workforces, you can't join your depots, and there's that many other diseconomies of scale, it's not funny. And those costs are going to be there forever, for going on forever. Even though we put the rate rises up now, that's covering the cost, but you're never going to get rid of those diseconomies of scale. So look, I'm fully for it. With our finances that we are now, we've got to work well as a council, and we will work well as a council if we aren't demerged, but we've got to keep a very stringent look on our finances, and also very, very tight budgeting to be able to retain the services and the staff that we got at the present time. Thank you.
I've opposed amalgamation for many, many years now politically, because it just doesn't suit, it doesn't fit in a regional situation, as Ab said. Like now, we are one council, funding for our library, we have 2 libraries now to support. So there's a lot of inefficiencies that come about from it. The sad thing about the amalgamation is we've had to pass the cost of it onto the ratepayers. That's the sad thing about it. And what really annoys me, yesterday walking up to the Central Hotel, I walked past the council chambers at Cooter, and on the 2 rocks outside the council chambers are the 2 AR Blewett Awards, which Cootamundra Council won. Now, the AR Blewett Award is an award statewide to the most efficient and effective council. They won it twice. The last time they won it was 2014, 2 years before they were merged. So you all feel terrible about the amalgamation. The people at Gundagai, at Cootamundra, they too have a damn good reason to feel terrible about it. And my apology to you is we've had to pass the cost of this state decision onto our ratepayers.
My position on merge is very clear. Never been in favour of, never will be. And I support a demerger 100%. We need to get back to the two communities so that both communities got ownership and control and can work within their means. The costs imposed by mergers are just a financial nightmare, just a total waste of money. The current financial position, yes, we've worked hard to bring things back into, try to get things back into order, but a lot of things happened when we first merged in that first 18 months when we didn't have a council and it was in the hands of administrators. A lot of things happened in those days that we are still paying for now and will continue to pay for many years. It's very, very sad because it was taken away from the general ratepayer.
I'll just hit play on Mr. Mayor again because he just summarised everything perfectly. But I'll keep it short. No, I did not support amalgamation. I publicly presented my submission at the Boundaries Commission last year, and as this statement says, that the majority of the community still support a demerger. I 100% support a demerger, as the statement reads, and I stand beside the community. What can we do about it? About our financial crisis? Constant cost-saving measures, careful, deliberate and calculated spending, because the last thing we want is to go back into administration.
I'll interrupt you again, Dave. My last interruption here. Amalgamation. At the beginning of this past council term, I was committed to trying to make the merger work. It hasn't. I was part of the council delegation which visited the Minister for Local Government this year to put the CGRC's case for a de-amalgamation. I spoke for the demerger at the Boundaries Commission hearing. I moved the recent resolution to send our business case for the demerger of Cootamundra and Gundagai to the Minister for her to refer it again to the Boundaries Commission. Once more, it is a case of listening to the community. The communities of our two former LGAs, particularly Gundagai, don't want to be merged. The people have spoken.
So as the amalgamation, I'm quite a bit of work under whatever system we end up with. I believe there's a business case before the Minister at the moment. And as a council though, I think that there shouldn't be any more time and money chasing after this. It's been 5 years on, and along the way we haven't had any change of decision from the top. What are the plans to rectify the financial crisis? My main idea is through long-term growth, growing the villages, trying to get more businesses, more population, and trying to grow the number of ratepayers. So rather than, look, you know, Nangus is a little village out here. It's got plenty of scope to grow. There's nothing around it. It's not on a river plain. It's perfectly able to handle many more people. So I'd love to see some water out there. I think we can promote tourism, and especially agri-tourism, and then once again trying to keep the kids, trying to help them set up businesses and make lives for themselves in the Shire, so that we can try and keep some of these people here, and then we don't have to attract more to fill their place.
Alright, before I begin, let me just put my record down. I'm going to put the needle on it, and I'm going to stand like a repeated out of here. Because, as everyone said today, no one's really excited about the merger that we were forced in with the forced amalgamation. The youth aren't happy, the elderly aren't happy, the working class isn't happy. No one's extremely happy about the position that we're in. But frankly, and as everyone said here today, I don't believe Ab sat there, you know, 6 years ago and said, oh, I really want to force our councils that are saying we do not want to be amalgamated. I really want to force them. The previous councils did not choose this. The current council is not choosing to stay amalgamated. They are trying, but the power is ultimately out of our hands. It's with the Minister. The Minister will not budge. The Right Honourable Shelley Hancock will not budge on this. She said it to Snowy Valley, she said it to Hilltop, she said it to Cootamundra, she said it to those up north. She does not want to budge on this, and frankly it's hurting our community. So what we need to do is to keep pressure on the government, to keep pressure on the Boundaries Commission, which is constantly reviewing it. But mainly, we need to unify and push forward. If we hold on to the idea that we are just going to demerge in a snap, we're going to be lost in the past. We must look for a prosperity, for a future where we are in the green, well sorry I should say in the black. It would not be nice to be in the green, but we need to keep on pushing forward without thinking that tomorrow we're going to be demarcated, because it's not in our future right now. We can try, but we need to push forward with our future for our grandchildren, for our future generations.
I was not living in Gundagai at the time, so I really can't comment back on what has happened. But I would definitely rely on the guidance, advice, wisdom and experience of the councillors and what they have been through to make a decision. It comes down to economics. If the communities can exist on their own merits, I support a demerger on the basis of what the majority of the constituents would like.
If a demerger can be achieved without huge cost to the ratepayers, then let's get on with it, let's demerge. You have to look at it, it's a balancing act really, isn't it? If the cost is too extreme, we have to think very carefully about how that was all going to finish up. I think what's so disgraceful about all this is the complete and utter indifference from these parsimonious, sanctimonious, self-indulgent politicians. And I understand when you all went to Sydney, the indifference that the Minister showed to you all was really quite disgraceful. And actually the road in Sydney is just littered with treacherous acts that all these politicians have carried out on all of us, and it ends right at the front door of that state parliament. So do I support, you know, a demerger? I certainly would. Did I ever support it? I certainly did not.
It's true to say that when Professor Drew was here, 80% of people who filled in the survey said that they were either dissatisfied or very dissatisfied. We shot ourselves in the foot a bit though. Less than 4% of you filled in that survey. And I honestly believe that that's come back to bite us on the bum now, because politicians will have looked at what Drew did, looked at there was only less than, it was 3.6% to be frank. And David put into his article that he was told by the then local government minister that give 14 days, the population in Gundagai will forget about and move on. I'm not saying that that's the case. Do I want to demerge it? Bloody oath I do. Should there be a demerger? Yes, there should be. Will there be a demerger in the near future? No, I don't think so, because there's not the political will. And the political will starts with the local member. And the local members let us down very, very poorly on this issue. Not only her, but the National Party also. The new leader of the National Party is quoted as saying on demergers that the amalgamations were made for all the right reasons. What a load of guff that is. And let's not forget that the National Party gave koalas a higher priority than what they gave you and me when they tried to stand up for Liberals earlier on this year. Thank you.
I think we might be giving the candidates a little bit of leniency on these last 4 questions. There's 4 questions that are a bit diverse, so I think it would be impossible to address them in a minute and a half. So we're going to suggest maybe a minute on each question if you like. And maybe, just as a little bit of a novelty, why don't we start down the other end and come this way? So, so Abby has to come up with something new after listening to all.
So just to be clear, we're doing 10 to 13 in the minute, or we're doing just 10 now and starting again, or?
Yeah. We just do one question.
One question.
And one minute answer. The next question.
Okay, all right. Mine was very short. I'll be quite frank. If there's going to be a redevelopment of the swimming pool area, it's a no-brainer to have a heated pool, isn't it? Yeah. I'm sorry, I just don't understand. The demographics are telling us that it needs to be there. In 2001, 22% of our population was in the 60 to 85. In 2016, it had risen to 33%. And I'd suggest today, it's up around to 37%. So to not have a heated swimming pool, I just don't understand why that wasn't in the original plan. In Cootamundra, there was a whole lot of guff going on about it before it kicked off. I tell you what, they wouldn't be without it now. Thank you.
So, yeah, of course everybody would like a heated swimming pool. It'll be a thrill, isn't it? But how are we going to pay for it? Because I remember my time on council all those years ago, even the one in Junee was 400,000 to keep it heated. And I think, if I'm not incorrect about this, I think that's what's costing the Cootamundra one, roughly that a year. So that's a huge cost more. Well, so of course, you know, everybody would like a heated swimming pool, but can we afford it? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Anyway.
For the past 3 years that we have lived here, we have only seen a very low patronage of the outdoor pool. We would need to understand who in the community requires a heated indoor pool and whether it is financially viable to do it. Possibility of using a heated indoor pool is a draw card for tourism. When we lived at Ingleburn, we loved it. My husband and I used to go at 6 AM in the morning. They let us put the music on and then we do our lap. So it can be a great thing. But once again, the balance. Are you going to have the people that want to use it? Are you going to have the funds to be able to do it? And then are you going to be able to maintain it? So, thank you.
Absolutely what the 3 previous members disclosed in their statements. The population difference between Cootamundra and Gundagai is nearly 2 to 1. It is, you know, quite a substantial amount. And if I actually heard earlier, you said it was $500,000 to upkeep the Cootamundra heated pool. That's a 25-metre pool. What was it, sorry? Oh, that's a loss. Sorry, my apologies. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's a 25-metre pool. It is quite huge. Quite big for that. Quite small for the amount of money that we're using. If we're putting that exact same replica over in Gundagai, that's doubling what the Cootamundra Gundagai Regional Council has to pay. That's less than half the people in Cootamundra. It's going to be a big problem. We need to properly look at it. Do I support the idea of it? Of course. Everyone would love a heated pool. I believe the Gundagai Shire's just introduced a new swimming team. I believe it's the Gundagai Sharks. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, like, you know, I'm sure that, like, you know, we'd love to see a heated pool, but there's a lot that needs to go into it, and it is very expensive. So, brief statement, support the idea, but I also support the intense investigation.
So I would not support a huge loss-making swimming pool in Gundagai. I don't think it's something that the council can afford in its current state. It sounds like a wonderful idea, but it's still expensive for where we are now.
We all want a heated pool if the funding opportunities presented itself. We must be mindful of our future financial maintenance impositions on our ratepayers and, of course, the implications of a heated swimming pool. We just simply haven't got the money.
Heated swimming pool, yeah, it's always good to dream. I don't know where the funding's going to come from, and just for your information, at the moment, the two pools in Cootamundra cost ratepayers close to $700,000 a year, and the one in Gundagai is costing about $150,000 to $175,000 a year off your rate. So effectively, of the general rate, about 8% goes to swimming pools.
The current master plan is sort of being developed for the Gundagai Swimming Centre. I think it doesn't hurt to include the concept of a heated pool, scale, and that could all be looked at. Also, when the time comes, which is going to be down the track, technologies do change. There may be ways of heating it far more efficiently than the conventional ways that are around at the moment. So the concept, yep, fine. Practical at the moment, financially at the moment, very difficult.
Yeah, look, I basically totally agree with everyone else. The cost, the losses of heated pools is enormous. You know, if we have a pool here, you know, you're not going to get a regional draw because you got Cooter, you got Wagga, you got Cooter with pools, and I'm not sure about Sherman. As Charlie said, there's probably a possibility down the track that, you know, I know how great it was going to Wagga to the heated pool when I had my hip done. It's the best thing ever. Whether we can look at something small that's just aimed at rehabilitation for people when they've had the hips or knees or whatever, it could be better, and the costs are nowhere near what it costs you for a larger pool. You know, it's a 25 metre pool. But look, yeah, the prohibitive costs are certainly at the present time going to stop us from putting in a decent sized pool. But whether we can look at other options down the track, let's hope we can, and they're affordable.
Go back.
Okay, now you can go start the train rolling back the other way.
Righto. This question: what ideas do you have to utilise the holiday vacation of town and draw more visitors to Gundagai? Look, I think we've done since we've done our main street in the last couple of years, the Adventure Park. You know, we go a bit too hard on ourselves at times. You know, in our main street, we draw in a lot of people in. You know, and opportunities follow opportunities, and even and it's a great credit to our shop owners in the main street now. Our street is much more vibrant than what it was pre-COVID. It's looking fantastic. You know, and there's not many vacant shops there. Look, with the highway, you know, we've got to look at promotion. Word of mouth's a big one, but you know, we can promote the town with signage. You know, if we memorialise the bridge properly with a decent and a grand memorial, I think that's another way to attract people going past to come into our town. You know, there's things down the track. You put in electric parking stations, that when all the whiz-bang electric cars are going to be about. And look, our Tourism Action Committee, headed up by Miriam, does a great job too in looking at ways we can get people into town. And you know, we've just got these ghost tours and things like that. But, you know, as I said, we've just got to look at opportunities as they come along, and we've still got a very good town.
I would say, look at other examples. Tumbarumba Rail Trail.
Yeah, I agree with Ab. You know, the main street has certainly transformed the town and brought a lot off the highway. The development, potential development out of the Dogwood Tugger Box could, if that's worked correctly, could be of great assistance to that, both out there and in the town here. And then there's been a lot of work done over the years down on where the town got wiped out in the floods in 1853. and it'd be great to be able to link all that up and keep developing that. I think that's an opportunity for the town.
Promotion via signage. Our greatest asset, of course, is word of mouth, and something that Cootamundra does very well is that they have the Cootamundra Development Corporation, and I think that is something that is somewhat missing here in Gundagai, that liaison between the businesses and council. So I feel that could be explored as well, but I think that one of our greatest assets is our adventure playground in the main street. So congratulations, I think, to the sitting council that managed to get that in that position. Also river access. We're advertised as the river town, but no one can get to it. So that's another opportunity for the community strategic plan for people to put their ideas into that.
Yeah, very similar. There's more signs on the highway telling you not to stop at Gundagai on your way in than are telling you to stop at Gundagai. They're telling you to go to service stations and to Tarcutta and to Yass, and I think we could sign posts as a town a bit better. I'd love to see a fuel sign on the entrance to the main street so that people know they can get fuel in the main street. I think that's a pretty cheap one to do. I think we can increase our online presence not even pretty cheaply, extremely cheaply, and improve our online presence with websites and website advertising into our major markets of Canberra and Sydney and Melbourne. And I'd also like to see some increased tourism offerings associated with the river. I'd love to be able to headhunt and try and find some canoe guys. I think it'd be a really easy way to promote people stopping and spending some time in the town.
Living in regional New South Wales comes with a lot of benefits. It also has a lot of culture, and Cootamundra and Gundagai and the villages surrounding are extremely rich with culture of traditional custodians of the land. So I think we can, as a council, help provide support and financial stability to enhance our Indigenous connection and to also embrace the tourism and culture that can come together as one. The Prince Alfred Bridge, I wasn't born in Gundagai. I moved to Cootamundra in 06, and every time I've travelled over here for sport or to see friends or to tour Gundagai, it is quite the amazing thing to look at. Unfortunately, it is currently being demolished, so I do weep for our friends and family over in Gundagai. I would like to see a memorial on that, and what the current council is doing with the Dogs on the Tocker Box and expanding the history and the culture around that. I think that's great. But to wrap it off, I'm just going to take a quote from Charlie Sheehan: Rail Trail.
Totally agree. One of the things that we should look at is increased and better signage. The addition of the LED sign at the north entry to Gundagai is an eye catcher. I personally believe that we should encourage more restaurants and boutique specialty shops to set up here. Make Gundagai a foodie, beverage and small arts destination. And I've got to say to Pen, I absolutely love it. What I took out of one of yours was a good boat ramp. Oh, love a good boat ramp.
So I think Penny got it in one. It's word of mouth. And I can't tell you how many bike riders come from Cootamundra, because there's nothing open on the weekends. And they roar up here and they can't believe they can park their bike outside a cafe that's open. And then they push off into, Tumbarumba and all scoot around there. So as far as motorbikes are concerned, that is a huge tourism thing. Off you guys said last time, I counted waved to 103 past the gate. They were on the way to Phillip Island and back, and they are cash to the max, and they really enjoy going around and looking. So it's not people in caravans, can't park them in the main street. Motorbikes, you can get them in anywhere, and they love it. So they love coming here. I don't think you realise how many of them come here, particularly from my end.
I'm going to answer this question by asking some questions. has there been a survey done asking people that come in off the highway, why are they coming off the highway into Gundagai? How long do they stay? What's required to keep them longer? What do they expect when they come off the highway? I see those sorts of questions giving us an answer into unlocking getting people off the highway. Because if we don't know why they want to come here, then we can't provide what it is that they want.
So Morley's Creek's got a boat ramp, but no water in it.
Okay, we'll keep moving on. Trevor, if you can just roll back this way again now with question 13, please.
Question 13. Are we doing question 12?
We just did question 12, didn't we?
Yeah, 13.
So we're up to 13. Okay, all right. Question 13. I've already given some facts about the demography of our region, and I think that is one of the major issues that we have. It would seem that one of our positives for retirees, one of the positives is that retirees like coming here. Well, if that's one of our positives, I think we should be sort of trying to cater for that. In 2001, 22% of school, 22% were school-aged children from 5 to 19. In 2016, that had fallen to 18%. 2001, the 20 to 54 age bracket had 39%. In 2016, that had fallen down to about 28%. So I think they are some of the challenges. And how do we overcome that? And we've addressed a lot of that in employment. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you might have answered 14 instead of 13, Trevor.
Sorry,
You got a 14.
There is one 14. That is 13.
That's 13, that's the last one.
Oh,
You missed
oh, there you go.
You missed 12.
You missed.
Do 12 as well, Trevor, while you're there.
All right. There are concerns as a result of the merger with Gundagai. All right, the office. I don't see the office closing soon, and I don't understand why it would close, because I don't believe that people from here should have to go to Cootamundra to do their council office stuff. And yes, I understand that a lot of it can be done online, etc., but that's not all the time. So I do see the office staying open.
Number 10, and that's number 10 as well.
Council administration to remain in Gundagai. Well, absolutely I would. And I think through the discussion this evening, it seems that the lack of land for light industry and housing is probably one of the most challenging things for Gundagai at the minute. So we've discussed how you might be able to fix that up with the early key of one thing and another.
Yep, do
both.
Alright. If it is found that a person's position is required in the Gundagai Council office to remain effective, then that is where the position must remain. That goes for council services as well. This should be applied to all councils and their service requirements. Some jobs cannot be done remotely, but other, which has been proven through this COVID experience, are more than successfully done remotely. In regards, Gundagai is an ageing population. We are doing nothing about enticing younger families to move here or retain the youth that has grown up in our town. The housing market is forcing them out. With the lack of rentals, the businesses cannot currently provide suitable employment for the long-term planning. And the council at present does not appear to have a plan in place to combat this. When we were enticed to come here by Ab McAllister, our current mayor, he was an absolute shining light in helping us to make the decision to move here. We currently run 2 successful businesses in the area. We absolutely applaud and appreciate how welcoming it was to deal with Ab, as he made us feel as though the community wanted us here. What we need to do is understand Ab's born and bred mentality and passion for the town. and promote the shit out of it. As council people, we should be making it especially about the environment, which don't care about us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm watching you, Logan.
I'll tie the bun for this one.
I thought she was going to.
Look, the concerns for the Gundagai administration being with the council. We were previously two councils. Unfortunately, we were amalgamated, and the development and the administrative task falls into both shires. The Cootamundra Gundagai Regional Council, the 2016 census, was 7,600, while Gundagai, I believe, was 1,860. And so, you know, that is quite disproportional. Now, with the understanding, with my close connection with the, sorry, those numbers, it was 2,800, I think it was, sorry. Those numbers were not correct for Gundagai. Anyways, with the Cootamundra administration, the Gundagai administration, I understand a lot of the office workers do actually jump in between the offices. I worked with Cindy very early in 2020 with the founding of the Cootamundra Youth Council, and then after Cindy helped us implement that, and the council hired the youth officer, the first youth officer, Sinead Jua. She's a Gundagai resident. She came over to Cootamundra quite a lot to assist us over in Cootamundra, and we've currently got James Thompson filling that position, and he bounces in between the two towns. And look, a lot of the administration do that, a lot of the council staff do that, and I just have to applaud it, but I think we are ignoring the fact that the administration does bounce between the two towns.
So look, this is probably not something I know much about. I'd hate to think that we're doing renovations on the office and then closing it down, so I can't see how that would actually work. I'd love to see how people work between the two and see whether there is any efficiencies to be made, keeping people in their own little areas if it can be. And the other thing I wouldn't mind having a look at is whether there's the ability to if new stuff pops up, you know, put it somewhere in the middle. If it's efficient, if it increases efficiency. Biggest issue, I still think the biggest issue is the declining population. I think that really needs to be turned around to ensure that we're still all about here in 50 years' time. And if it continues to decrease for 50 years, well, we'll just be merged with Mega eventually anyway. So I think then we'll really have a problem.
I 100% advocate for Gundagai office to remain open as a fully functioning council office. When the SRV was implemented, council made a commitment to the community, and that was that there would be no job losses and no loss of services. I will maintain that. The biggest issue I feel for Cootamundra Gundagai Regional Council is financial sustainability. All spending and expenditure must be strategically and thoughtfully done, but always within our budgetary constraints.
Yeah, council chamber must stay here. That's a must. And the chamber here works very, very well. We've got a very, very efficient depot in out there in Yobs Sayards. One of the biggest downsides we've got in Cootamundra is that they've got 3 depots and it's not efficient. It's very, very costly, and it's costing us a lot of money. One of the biggest challenges, yes, financial sustainability. We've done the hard yards in relation to special rate rise. It doesn't sit well with all of us, but we need to be financially stable, but we have to get a bigger share of the road funding. The model that we're using was brought out in 1973. It's not working. It hasn't kept pace. So we need to get more and more funding for our roads, because they're going to deteriorate. This year in this council, we've been very, very lucky when, through the Softwoods Working Group, which a couple of us are on, working with other shires, has been able to get $4 million, which has taken a lot of pressure off our budgetary requirements this year.
I can't see anything changing with the admin building here. We're just spending a lot of money on it now, and I hope there isn't a budget overrun there. If anyone's been into the admin offices in Cootamundra, you can barely swing a cat in there. So I think they'll appreciate a little bit more office space, even on this end of the council, as Logan attested to. They do switch around a bit. Biggest issues that are facing Gundagai and the region. Most of the problems that we're facing with are bringing with them opportunity. I think we've got to focus on those opportunities, capitalise on those opportunities, get that low-hanging fruit, sell the land that we can develop quickly, expand our population, and natural growth will happen. And it's there, the demand is there, we've just got to meet that and look to the future with some opportunity.
Yeah, with the office, I can't see it closing. We've just done the refurb, but also part of the merger. It was stipulated that Gundagai can have no less staff indoor and outdoor than what they had post-merger. So I think we had 51, we may have 53 now between the outdoor and indoor staff. So hopefully that rule sticks. I'll certainly advocate for full delivery of services to continue over here at all times. But we do have a lot of professionals here. We have the GM, we have 2 engineers, we have the facility manager, we have the health and safety officer. Plus we've got a lot of admin and great admin girls. With our future for Gundagai, look, I think the main thing is, your biggest thing in council is finances. At the end of the day, nothing else matters, mainly, as Councillor Graham said, it's finances. We've got to have financial sustainability so we can retain our staff. We're going to, the retention of staff, you know, we want our lawns, our parks mowed regularly, we want our toilets clean. As David said, we've got to really look at road funding, because that's our biggest part of infrastructure, and you know, we want people to drive around the area, and there you go, it's time for Melbourne.
I'd just like to thank all the candidates, and also thank you very much for handling that, having 2 questions 10. We did that deliberately to see whether or not anybody was able to pick it up and if you could work on your feet. Well done. You're all to be commended for putting yourself forward for election. Communities like ours need people like you to put yourself forward for that.